Being cool tack. Gotta put the A&R design right above my butt, you know? Everyone stares at it. Keep it on display. Big booty Judy. All right, so really tough stage. Targets were from, as I recall, 330 yards out to, I think, just shy of 400. It's a floating platform or a hanging platform with tires. Tires already suck. They're not a stable shooting platform. Kind of a precarious geometry. Now we have tires plus a moving platform. So I'm doing something called free recoil shooting. I'm not putting the rifle in my shoulder pocket hard. I'm kind of letting it float in front of my shoulder pocket. And I'm doing all my recoil management by cradling the front of the pint-sized Game Changer, you know, kind of like a ball sack, and then putting my thumb on the forend of the stock, and I'm crushing it together to manage recoil with my support side hand, and then touching off the trigger. Some of you might make a comment that I'm coming off trigger, not running trigger reset. This is a bolt gun. The gun's recoiling back, so I only have about 1 millimeter travel on my trigger finger. And then I'm getting a little bit of recoil, pushing the gun back, so it makes it look more exaggerated than it really is. Not shooting the greatest here. I had 20 seconds left, and I kind of rushed through the stage, and I shouldn't have. I should have taken my time and scooped up an extra point or two. This match was a really difficult match because the stages were all extremely difficult. There was a lot of moving, there was a lot of technical shooting, and they knocked the time down. Usually stage time is around 2 minutes, and stage time was 1 minute and 45 seconds. That 15 seconds makes a big deal. Here I'm talking to a gentleman named Trevor. He's got a Swedish chassis, and it has a really slim rail, then it has this rolled area, and it's just not great. So I was explaining to him why it's not great to compete with that. It was his first match. This stage is 330 yards at a 12-inch tombstone, and it's one shot standing, one shot kneeling, one shot sitting, and one shot unsupported, no bipod prone. You can use a sling. Using my Coltac sling, I very rarely use it. I'm actually going to be switching over to a Ridgeline Defense SPR sling that they have for PRS. I love the Coltac sling, but right now it's a lot of sling. It's a little encumbering for me to use. It's a very technical sling. I don't practice with it enough. So standing, I dropped my shot. Kneeling wasn't that stable, and then I got my sitting shot. And this is hard. This is hard prone holding up this weapon system. I should have put my forearm out a little bit farther to get a little bit more balance on the weapon. It's a 30-pound rifle. It's really hard. The ground was there was actually a lot of rocks hidden in the grass, and it was stabbing my elbow. So I was trying to get comfortable. Didn't really get comfortable. Dropped those 3 shots. This was a really tough course of fire. Overall, throughout the day, I ended up shooting 12th place out of 65 people. Not great, but not terrible. I ended up cleaning it up in the end. This is just a standard PRS barricade stage. 2 shots from each position, 4 positions, 405 yards. And then they time this stage so that it's kind of a tiebreaker. You know, your time, if you shoot faster than other people, it gives you a better advancement on placement. So you can see I'm loading the barricade. It's a pretty stable barricade. I'm leaning into it. Ass is out a little bit, legs spread wider than my shoulders, managing recoil on the front end of the rifle system, and keeping that in my collarbone pocket nice and tight. this is an easy stage. I can't remember the last time I dropped a shot on a PRS barricade stage. It's one that everyone should shoot 100% on. If you don't, it's human error if you miss. There was a little bit of wind, not enough to augment anything. Steve is holding the shot clock near my suppressor because this weapon system with that Thunder Beast Ultra 9 6.5 can is so quiet.
I don't shoot outside of matches.
This was a tough stage. A lot of 10 shooting positions. There was 12 positions you could shoot from, but you had to shoot from 10. One shot from each position that you choose. Target was at 405 yards. Wobbly stage. I free recoil shot the first one. I didn't load the barricade. Here I'm like, should I load it? Okay, got my ass up. Present that booty, lean into it. I'm not loading the barricade still. Dropped that shot because I wasn't loading the barricade. Decided on the third shot to load the barricade. Gonna lean into it, push it forward, use my cuddle bag at 3 points of contact. Again, managing recoil with my support side hand. Very comfortable here, but drop the shot, still not loading it. When is Alex gonna load it? Oh, here. So I dropped 2 shots on the last 2. I'm not loading it. Not as stable as I wanted to be. Here I go. Started loading it a little bit. Much more stable. Got my center round impact. So yeah, that's where I wanted to be. I didn't want to shoot the 2 lower bars. I'm a little too tall to do those, so I decided to transition to the right side and start working my way down there. I knew I was going to time out here on this stage, so I wanted to take the more easy shots that were going to be most comfortable for me. Again, I decided not to load it higher up, because there's a lot more movement to that. So when I have to settle the fence again, it's going to lean back towards me. So I decided to not really load it anymore. I found that sweet spot of balance for myself for this stage a little late in the game. I was hoping I was going to scoop up a couple more shots here. I really should have. Those 2 missed shots in the beginning were just human error, just not letting myself settle enough before taking the shots. It was tough. You know, you're moving a 30-pound rifle all around, and I timed out there. This stage was difficult. There was 4 shooting positions, out to 965 yards, multiple target engagement throughout the course of fire. Wind was switchy. It was going left 4 miles, right 4 miles, then it would die. There's a leafy canopy behind the targets, so I couldn't really see my missed shots. You know, hindsight's 2020. I probably should have magged out a little bit so I could have seen my trace a little bit better. A trick when you're shooting long distance like this and you're not really figuring out where you're supposed to shoot, shoot something around the same that has a splashback so you can see where your miss is. I'm doing left edge holds here because the wind was left to right a little bit, so I'm literally holding my reticle on the left edge of the targets and I'm missing. Well, after this course of fire was concluded, the spotter who was watching told me that all of my shots dropped right off the left edge by an inch. So I thought the wind switched on me. So what I started doing is I started walking my reticle left of the target. I thought it picked up. I thought the wind picked up. So I started shooting more left of the target thinking that there was a stronger wind down range. This range is kind of hard to judge wind because where we're shooting, there's a lot of leafy growth out there, which creates a mirage. And the mirage is hard to read because there's actually a couple open cuts of the forest there. Again, not really reading wind properly. My body wasn't in a great position there before I didn't press that shot, but you know, I wasn't squared off to the target like I should have. I made a lot of mistakes. First time shooting a match in 2 months. Solid position here. I'm actually shooting at another target that's off frame here. It's a little bell. It's about a 5-inch bell. These shots are at 380-ish yards. Again, tough course of fire, small targets. I shouldn't have dropped those shots on the right side target. I actually shot at the right side target first, I believe, and then moved to the left. You're supposed to shoot them left, then right in order, so I was actually out of order when I shot those. Kind of rushing this, not really stable. I'm rushing this course of fire because they have a movement element in it. I'm about to go, here I go, grabbing a magazine, got to do a mandatory mag change after running to get it. You know, they really stretched these courses real thin. You know, you have to be a pretty absolute athlete to keep up on these stages, moving the rifle around. So finally scooping up my shots. Again, I was missing the the right side targets. It's just, that bell shape was kind of weird. There was a little bit of wind that picked up. I was holding on center, but it was all human error. I was dropping those shots, rushing those second shots. That's all my fault. You know, I made a lot of rookie mistakes. Generally, the stages are 2 minutes long. They're usually not as technical. They're usually not as busy. And I usually have to tell myself to slow down because I'm moving too quickly. In this case, I'm moving on pace with each stage almost, and I'm still timing out and missing my shots. So again, super tough day. This stage was shoot your targets from your dominant side and then shoot support side. Prone out on this rock, wasn't that comfortable. I was pretty stable. I wasn't able to load the gun as much because I wasn't using my bipod, so I wasn't loading the bag that well. So I was soaking up a lot of recoil into my shoulder. Again, we're shooting out to 965 yards. I'm making the same mistake that I did earlier. I am doing left edge holds, and the wind is dead as fuck out there. So my left edge holds, again, are going off the left edge of the plate. I mean, we're talking a sea hair, 1 inch off the left side of the plate at that distance. And, you know, made that mistake the first time and didn't make up for it. Didn't make that correction on this stage, which was just my fault. Shooting support side here, running my squeeze bag with my right hand, losing the target. If you ever lose your target, lift your head up vertical over the top of the scope and kind of line your barrel up where your target should be, and then get back behind glass. That's a quick way to find it. Don't try looking through the glass. It takes too much time, and sometimes magging out adds too much time as well. So this stage was a rock stage, single position, no movement. We're engaging a KYL, know your limits target, at 310 yards. I think it's 310, either 280 or 310. I think it's around 300 though, if I can remember correctly. So the course of fire wasn't very clear. You had to shoot each target twice at some point. So I first started shooting the target twice, each one. And so I'm kind of like waiting for the swing to time itself back. The person that wrote the course of fire is an evil bastard. So I figured it was shoot each one twice before moving to the next. So I missed that shot because I was waiting for it to stop swinging, and then I realized, nah, you can. I remember someone mentioning loudly earlier that clear each row first. So I asked the spotter, "Can I do it out of order?" And he was like, "Yeah." So then I just started speeding through. Again, it's 10 shots, 1 shot at each target. You're supposed to roll through. So now I'm clearing the smaller targets, which I probably, should have shot my first 5 and then went back, and all the targets would have settled by then, but they didn't, so I dropped those shots there. That's my fault for not reading the rules more effectively before shooting. It was one of those days where if you heard everyone over the day, there was very few impacts called that day. The difference between 12th place and first place was only about 7 or 8 impacts. So all these drop shots that I had, if I didn't drop them, would have put me up there. And it's a really tight group of shooters. We're all pretty close in skill. It comes down to, what mindset, did you get enough sleep? Are you, paying attention? Are you not making those stupid mistakes? And that's the difference between 12th and first. You know, everyone in the top 15 aren't bad shooters. It's just you make these dumb mistakes along the way that fuck you up. This was a lot of movement. Again, was out to distance too, out to 400 yards, multiple targets. I think it was like 330 through 405. Actually, correction, they weren't that far. I think they were 330. There was 2 targets, 1 left, 1 right. Kind of similar to really small targets. That target was at 280. I think this one was in line with it. Fucking. So 2 targets, 280. They're small. I mean, we're talking a few inches. And really hard shooting positions. I was magged in a little too much. And dropping my shots stupidly. This is a hard position. I'm a big dude compared to some of the smaller shooters. Some of these positions are difficult, so I'm not settling. Plus time, again, you're shooting from, I think there's 6 positions, 12 shots. So timed out. Horrible shooting, lessons learned. This stage was 4 targets. You had to shoot each one dominant side, 1 shot each. Targets ranged from 330 yards, a pair at 995, and then 1 at 600. And I'm bladed towards the target. I'm not squared off. I figured I might free recoil shoot a little bit here to stay comfortable and be really fucking stable. But guess what? Wasn't managing recoil, wasn't seeing. I was actually able to see where my shot dropped off at 995 because it is on a sand splashback. So right here, 2 shots, left side edge, missing left side edge again. The wind is picked up around this time. It's been switching left to right. So I saw that I went just off the left side edge, so I knew I was going to hold straight up coming through the next side. Time was a factor here. I had to switch anyway because I was switching to support side shooting. This is how I should have shot dominant side. I should have just put my knees on it and my toes below. I'm tall enough to do that. Elbow on the barricade, managing recoil with the front hand, running bolt with the right hand. But I'm getting my impacts. I was able to see where I was missing on all my shots, and I made that correction, holding straight up now, and making those shots count. And had a rough day. My squad was like, holy shit, he's getting all his impacts right now. So I'm shooting, you know, support side, got those 4 impacts at 995 yards, and you know, I don't shoot support side enough. You can see I'm kind of banging that trigger, but I'm stable. I'm comfortable and I'm stable. I'm confident, and I'm just moving through it. This stage saved the day for me. Picking up 7 impacts on this stage kind of saved my placement in the top 12. If I did not shoot here, I would have probably been top 20. So, good way to end the day after having such a shitty day.